I slept in the woods with the guys. Get out the way when they come. I caught the whole crew with this shine. Off of the perk and the Xanakin, yeah. Walking the sky like a mannequin, yeah. Double G on me like mannequin, yeah.
Good afternoon, Jets Nation. Welcome to the Jets Duo Show. I'm your host, Jude, joined by my co-host, Italy Jet, and a very special guest, Kyle from Sports Talk with Dad. Some of you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. Kyle, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are, where you're coming from.
Hey everybody, Sports Talk with Dad. My name is Kyle. It's a show that my dad and I started 18 months ago, and has been quite the journey. You know, we talk sports. As you can see, I am all over the place when it comes to sports. Ohio State, Chicago, Green Bay, you name it. I'm a big fan. So we are all over the place. So anybody listening, come and check us out. We have our own YouTube channel, Sports Talk with Dad.
Awesome, man. Oh, I'm Italy Jet. I'm all over the place with soccer and football content with Jets, West Ham, and Toronto FC. Me and Jude have a couple shows. And hey, man, it's going awesome for you to be on the show, Kyle.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on.
Alrighty, so we all know the big storyline going on this offseason. Kyle's sick of hearing about it. I'm a little sick of talking about it as well.
Maybe.
This whole Aaron Rodgers situation, it feels like every day hearing something new about Aaron Rodgers, saying something new about Aaron Rodgers. And as a Jets fan, as a Packers fan, in the year 2023, when are we not talking about Aaron Rodgers? It's just this insane thing, you know, everyone thinking different about the whole situation. But Kyle, I got to ask you, man, you know, the big holdup for this situation, or I should say the whole, you know, trade holdup and whatnot is, of course, been compensation. So as a Packers fan, because, you know, us Jets fans, we have, you know, what we want to get in return for Aaron Rodgers. But as a Packers fan, what did you expect the Packers to get in return for Rodgers, and what the rumored, you know, trade outline has been, you know, with the 2 second-round picks and, you know, the potential for one to become a first, depending on how the Jets do with Rodgers. What are your whole thoughts on that, and what does that compare to what you thought the Jets could get, or the Packers could get in return for Rodgers?
I mean, considering the Packers front office is filled with morons, I expected us to get a third-round pick. So, I mean, we went through this with Favre and literally did get a third-round pick from the Jets. Obviously a different story, right? Favre had retired and then decided to come back on family night in Green Bay and say he's unretired. Played the Packers pretty dirty. This is a different ballgame, right? Because you have Aaron Rodgers, a Hall of Fame quarterback that wants to finish his career in Green Bay. Made it clear that he wanted to stay and play and win a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. And our front office, instead of keeping a Hall of Fame wide receiver in Devontae Adams, they let him walk. And now in the next year, we're letting our Hall of Fame quarterback walk because we can't get him anybody but Sammy freaking Watkins to be there for him. And two players that are rookies. And then we're going to complain that he's not at OTAs when these guys don't even know the playbook yet. So honestly, I was expecting a third-round pick. I don't know why all of a sudden we decide that, you know, hey, the front office decides we don't want Aaron Rodgers anymore, and now we get to be picky on what we want from him. It's not fair to Jordan Love. It's not fair to Green Bay Packers fans. And honestly, I'm not convinced he's going to be traded at all at this point.
Oh, so interesting.
Okay, well, I want to backpedal. I want to add to that another question, follow up with that. When you say you don't think he's going to get traded, like, do you think that he might just retire or ride the bench if he doesn't get traded, or what can you see happening?
He's not coming to Green Bay and riding the bench because people will burn Lambeau Field to the ground. So that's not happening. Now, if the Jets are smart, we just heard huge news coming out of the owners meeting, and that is that Lamar Jackson wants to be traded. And the Jets are reportedly on the top of his list. Now, we also heard rumors that Matthew Stafford is on the trade block, and the Jets may be talking with Matthew Stafford. So right now, with those two big news, the Packers have no leverage, except for the fact that Woody Johnson wants Aaron Rodgers. Now, if Aaron Rodgers goes to the New York Jets, you guys are primed to win a Super Bowl. Most likely going to happen. You guys have a great roster. The only reason you weren't winning last year was because of Zach Wilson. Yeah, let's be honest. Zach Wilson cost you guys a lot of games. And him sitting behind Rodgers is also the best thing to happen for the Jets because that kid's just got to grow up, and I think he'll be a good quarterback. But it's hard to be a young kid and going to New York. I went as a young kid to New York, and I got lost. I can't imagine being a quarterback for the New York Jets and being in New York City. So, but if I'm the Jets right now, I'm calling the Baltimore Ravens about Lamar Jackson, and I'm telling the Packers about it every step of the way. So at this point, the Packers could end up walking away with a third-round pick.
And the interesting thing about, the whole Lamar Jackson situation, because, obviously whenever you hear Lamar Jackson, he requests a trade, you're thinking, oh, the New York Jets had themselves a backup option with Jackson, and they could use it as leverage. But instead, our general manager goes out, he publicly states that, hey, we're not interested in Lamar. We're too dug into this Aaron Rodgers situation, and they don't want to be unfair. They don't want another Derek Carr situation to potentially happen, to where he, the Jets and him were close, but we wanted Rodgers, and, it all kind of fell apart. And obviously, I would much rather have Aaron Rodgers than Derek Carr, and it seems like it's going to happen, so everything kind of worked out in the end. But the Jets don't want to, get into all these conversations with Baltimore about what a trade could work out and what it could end up looking like whenever we're already committed to Aaron Rodgers, when we've had free agents sign with the New York Jets, coaches getting hired by the New York Jets because we're getting Aaron Rodgers. So this whole thing happening. So it's definitely been interesting, to say the least. But whenever, you say this trade may not happen, but realistically speaking, if you do think the trade will eventually go through, when do you think like a timeline for it could be done? When do you think it actually gets completed? The Jets, Packers social media accounts tweet out, this trade is now official, and then that's whenever it marks it being official. So what are you thinking?
I mean, first and foremost, to go off of one thing you said here, if the Jets front office is not talking to the Baltimore Ravens front office about Lamar Jackson right now, then they're just as dumb as the Packers front office. Like you have an option to get leverage. You have a backup choice. Lamar Jackson's a lot younger. Do I think Lamar Jackson is Aaron Rodgers? No. Do I think he'll have as long as of a career as Aaron Rodgers or will be as great for the Jets as Aaron Rodgers could be? No, I don't. But that's leverage. And you need to have a backup plan. You mentioned you lost Derek Carr. You lost Derek Carr because you're dragging your feet, and this whole Rodgers thing is taking forever. But as for a timeline, this will either happen draft night at this point, or this will go past June 1st. For the Packers, after June 1st is best because then we gain $20 million in cap back by making him a post-June 1st trade. So if you're Goody, that works out best for you. But at this point, you need to get out of this. And I think that the Jets will cave on draft night and give the Packers the 13th overall pick for Aaron Rodgers.
Interesting.
Okay. What if you're the Packers and you want to support Jordan Love or maybe a defense type of trade, what would you get? I know the picks are there. You're going to get some picks back. What players would you get off the Jets, either offense or defensive side of the ball?
I don't even know what players we could bring in at this point. I mean, the Jets can't really give up much, right? Because you're trying to build a Super Bowl team around Aaron Rodgers. And you guys have a stacked roster, which is why Aaron Rodgers wants to go there. So if you're the Jets, you really can't give up any big-name players. You're not going to give up Zach Wilson because you still want him to be your heir apparent. So when it comes to players, I don't really think there's a conversation that can be had.
So Corey Davis, you want to take Corey Davis or
Mims? Maybe
Denzel Mims?
Listen, I'd take him. I would take whatever you got. But if I'm talking from a business perspective and I'm playing GM of the New York Jets here, those are the type of players that make New York so attractive for Aaron Rodgers. Those are the type of players that I'm excited to have on this roster because Green Bay just screwed me over, right? If I'm Aaron Rodgers last year, they got rid of everything. They went out there to make me look like an idiot after 2 back-to-back MVPs because they didn't want me to win back-to-back MVPs. And so they did everything they could last year to screw me over. And I don't want to go to New York in that same situation. I want all the players you have there. And that's why I don't think any players can be in that conversation. And I think that's why the Jets are so steadfast in making sure that's a point.
And That definitely does make a lot of sense what you say right there. Especially with the whole Aaron Rodgers wanting to come, because obviously this is towards the end of his career. He's wanting to go on a team where he can win a Super Bowl, win another one, maybe even another MVP, have as much success as possible. But I do feel like Corey Davis is an expendable piece on the New York Jets roster simply because of the moves we've made this offseason, signing Allen Lazard, signing McCole Hardman, having interest in Odell Beckham Jr. Because if, we do, because of course right now Corey Davis' spot on the Jets is just simply as that 3 guy. But if you bring in Odell Beckham Jr., that's where things get confusing, and that's when Corey Davis becomes this extendable piece. And we know the Packers need some wide receiver help, with Matt LaFleur even mentioning it, in his press conference yesterday, saying, look, we need to add some guys. And I took a look at that Packers depth chart at receiver, and you have some promising pieces with Watson and Dobbs, but
right. Oh, he's like, no. He says no. I was like, no.
Watson, I think, could be an all-star for this team for a long time to come. Dobbs is a nice little speed guy, but I think he's more of the Marquez Valdez-Scantling book than anything else we've ever had on this roster.
Is there any guys that you would look to get in the draft for the Packers if you were them getting some of these picks from the Jets? Just like Tigo is saying, I think his first comment was it would be good if we waited. I think I agree with him. And his second comment, team more likely will fold. That's what I think the Jets will do. I think the Jets will. I think coming that night, there's going to be a lot of negotiations. There's going to be maybe even the second day, there's going to be negotiations. But if we give you those picks, who would you get at wide receiver if you had the chance?
I don't know where to go wide receiver. Let's be honest. We have a general manager that's drafted decent in the first round, which is not something the Packers have had for a long time, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
But he likes to draft defense in the first round. Now, there's 2 tight ends out there, one from Utah, one from Notre Dame, who I think will be great picks for the Green Bay Packers, because we haven't had a tight end like that since Jermichael Finley, who we drafted in the second round out of Texas. And anytime the Packers have had a good tight end, we've had a good team. We won Super Bowls with great tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the track record of Gutekunst past the first round, I mean, we don't have any players left from his previous drafts except for last year. You look even past the 5th round last year, 2 out of 4 of those picks are no longer on our roster. So to me, obviously I am not a fan of our general manager because he hasn't loaded our team. So I have no faith in whatever picks we get that this is going to work out. Honestly, I'm waiting for this to all fall apart, and then I'm excited for the new GM to come in.
Okay.
All right.
What do you thinking, Jude? What are you thinking?
I'm definitely thinking, with this whole draft pick thing, maybe, just give Aaron Rodgers to us for free. We can end this whole debate, with all this. But, obviously, that's not going to happen here.
It's not going to happen. But
it's not going to happen.
Everybody in Green Bay and in Wisconsin thought that was going to happen. So we're kind of sitting here surprised that didn't happen.
You need to make the owners happy, right? You want to keep the team in Green Bay, so might as well do that, right?
We gave Devontae Adams away for a 2nd round pick.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I have a piece of paper that says I own the Green Bay Packers, but trust me, they don't listen to me at all and don't give a shit what I have to think. They're going to do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's in your backdrop. It's there's the pendant. Owner. It says owner right there.
I am an owner. I am an owner of the Green Bay Packers. But all it gets me is a ticket where they let me to buy merchandise. That's it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my next question for you is, with Aaron Rodgers maybe coming to the Jets, what players would you have him follow him from the Packers? I know we've been rumor with Cobb, Mercedes Lewis. I don't want Lewis or Cobb, but I understand why. We already have Lazard. We already have Hackett. Who would be another guy?
Well, that's an interesting thing, because I would say those 2 are impeccable pieces, especially when it comes to locker room guys. I get Cobb. He's slowed down. He is not. The problem is the Packers used Cobb as essentially our number 1 receiver for a lot of the season, and he's not going to hold up that long. But as a number 3 slot receiver that you play half the game, I think he's great. Mercedes Lewis, why wouldn't you want Mercedes Lewis on your team?
We have 4 tight ends.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, we have four, like three to four really good tight ends. So I don't think we need it.
Mercedes Lewis has been used wrong in Green Bay for a long time. You have a
Really? Okay.
6'8" guy who can catch the ball, and we never threw it to him. Anytime we threw Mercedes Lewis the ball, especially in the red zone, he made outstanding catches and should have been a Pro Bowl guy catching 10 touchdown passes a year in the red zone, and we just never used him that way. So from my point of view, I think he would be a great addition to any team. And honestly, if you're going all in for Aaron Rodgers, then give him whoever he wants.
Right.
Man. Sub Jets mess.
So
Man, okay, that's really interesting. I like hearing that side of Packer Nation on what to build around. I'm gonna go more back to the Packers now because you sound like a very frustrating Packers fan for a long time. You look like you're about fed up, and I understand. I've been a Jets fan my whole life. I understand what that means.
See,
So
I don't want to be a Jets fan, and that's why I'm frustrated because I'm afraid that's the direction we're about to go.
well, I don't like the Packers either, so we got one thing going for us, right? So I would say for you, I know there's been a lot of frustration and tension between Rodgers and LaFleur over the years, and even some people don't even like LaFleur. I just want a better understanding of the LaFleur-Rodgers situation. What can you tell me about LaFleur?
Yeah, for sure. And when I say, by the way, I don't want to be a Jets fan, I mean, I don't want my team to be like the Jets have been the last several years. So in that case, I have been a very spoiled football fan. I grew up with Brett Favre and went directly to Aaron Rodgers.
I get it.
So for me, I don't want to have any more losing seasons. I've had one losing season in my entire life as a football fan, and I want to keep it that way.
Well, it's like the Patriots.
I've had one winning season.
It's like the Patriots. So I get it.
Exactly. Always winning. So, I think the LaFleur-Rodgers thing was overblown. I don't think LaFleur is very happy. I don't think Gutekunst and LaFleur are on the same page. LaFleur was not invited to the combine in Indianapolis with Gutekunst. And I think that says a lot. Why would you not want your head coach at the combine looking at talent that you're possibly drafting? So I think that right there says a lot. I think LaFleur said it best. We need to temper expectations on Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers is a once-in-a-generation lifetime player. To me, everything he says sounds like a coach that's not too happy that his organization just got rid of his quarterback. LaFleur and Rodgers figured it out. They had different ideas. I think LaFleur made really bad coaching decisions, and I think the last 4 years he's been here, he's cost us playoff games. I think he's cost us the Super Bowl run against the Buccaneers with bad play calling. I think he's cost us Super Bowl runs against the Niners, the other NFC championship we were in. So, yes, I think LaFleur has some issues, and he's going to really be tested this year. But to say that Rodgers and LaFleur had some beef, I don't think that's as accurate as some people would want you to think.
Okay. Yeah, good to know. What do you think, Jude?
I mean, it's definitely interesting because, with this whole situation going on, and what's up, Matthias? Glad to see you back in the chat, man. Because, I feel like, as outside fans looking in, we're all kind of thinking, this whole Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers beef, I felt like could have been a reason to why he wanted out, and obviously he said it himself, after he got out the darkness retreat, he wanted to retire, but then he saw the Packers had traded him, lit a fire under him. Then Aaron Rodgers said, all right, I want to play for the New York Jets. That's kind of what happened in a nutshell. But I just remember, Jeopardy last off season, we see, Aaron Rodgers question the kicking call where, in the game against the Niners, I want to say it was, where they kicked the field goal.
That was against the Buccaneers.
Against the Buccaneers, my bad.
There we go.
You really have to look at that, though, considering the Packers had 3 interceptions in a row against Brady, and we went 3 and out in each one of them. So Rodgers has a lot to take in the blame on that, too. A lot of that was bad play calling on third down. Don't get me wrong. But you cannot get 3 interceptions in a row when you're down in the fourth quarter and go 3 and out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you definitely can't do that. And then, go out, pivot to the head coach. But still, nonetheless, I felt like there definitely was some beef between, him and LaFleur. But to kind of see that all kind of, not really being as big as, the media or kind of as just outside fans looking in thought it was to be, definitely is interesting. Jeffrey coming in with a comment saying, "Hey Jude, would love to see you on more." Definitely, Jeffrey. We're looking to do this show. We done 2 straight weeks in a row. Had some other things going on, but hopefully, show keep on going on. I kind of want to pivot back more to the Aaron Rodgers trade, real quick. About leverage. This is, definitely been a hot topic going on throughout. Packers fans, Jets fans saying, Packers fans going, "Oh, we have all the leverage because the Jets don't have any backup playing with Aaron Rodgers." And then Jets fans saying, kind of what Tigo was saying in this comment right here, why would you give up, or why would we give up on picks in 2023 if we can give up 2024 assets, basically implying our picks this year are probably going to be better than the picks that we were going to have next year. So as a Packers fan looking in, who do you think has the leverage in this Aaron Rodgers trade?
Depends how long this goes. And it depends on Woody Johnson. Let's be honest, because if the owner decides he wants Aaron Rodgers, then all the leverage is on Green Bay's side. Because if he's putting the line in the sand, then they're going to get Aaron Rodgers. Now, as a Packers fan, I don't want their picks from 2024. I don't want your guys' picks for 2024. I think you guys are going to be deep in the playoffs, if not in a Super Bowl run. I want the picks this year. So I completely understand why the Packers are holding out saying, hey, we want the number 13 overall pick this year. Now, I also understand where the Jets are coming from because you don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to play next year. But at the same time, look what the Rams just did. If you win a Super Bowl, who else cares what happens? That's all that matters is winning a Super Bowl. So from a Jets fan perspective, I look at it as, why wouldn't I give up those picks now? I'm chasing a Super Bowl. Nothing else matters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, completely agree. I've said, in the past before, if we give up a first-round pick, obviously it's kind of like, oh, man, we give up 13. It's been one of the sweet spots of picks throughout the past 2 years.
You give up 13 to get 12.
Exactly. It's like you get Aaron Rodgers in return. He's a top 5 quarterback of all time. If you have a big chance, like a really great chance to win a Super Bowl, I mean, sure, you might have gave up on 13 and it's Broderick Jones, who sure might be an all-pro tackle one day in the NFL, but you also won a Super Bowl, something the Jets haven't done since 1969. So I definitely feel like, yeah, it weighs out a whole lot. Matthias in the comments actually has a question for you, Kyle. He says, was Rodgers ever okay with any of this after McCarthy left, and then with the drafting Love? That was the beginning of the end.
The issue is nobody that drafted Aaron Rodgers is in that building anymore. Nobody.
Right.
All gone. Right. So he has nobody on his side. It's the same thing Favre went through when he left, which is why he wanted to leave. The McCarthy thing had run its course. McCarthy had been in the building for a long time and had gotten really stale on his coaching. I was actually really excited to see McCarthy in the playoffs last year because he finally had that look back in his eyes, like a head coach again. I think the biggest issue is how much bad luck could one team have when it came to McCarthy and Rodgers in the playoffs before it finally started to get with you. I mean, the 2014 NFC Championship where we lost to Seattle, who had a 5% chance winning of coming back. I mean, that really hurt. And then to go, 15-1 and then lose in the first round of the playoffs, that messes with you. And I think that really hurt that relationship quite a bit because I think there was some finger pointing, and I think Rodgers wanted more from the Packers organization than they were willing to give. And McCarthy was a scapegoat. And that's what it came down to. I think that the Packers wanted to move on from Aaron Rodgers, who said this himself on the Pat McAfee show. They wanted to make this move a couple years earlier, but unfortunately for the Packers, our quarterback won 2 MVPs. And how sad is that to say? Unfortunately, our quarterback won 2 MVPs. So, yeah, I mean, I think as soon as McCarthy was fired, the drafting of Love is an interesting one because it was a panic pick, in my opinion. The Packers wanted Ayuk, who was drafted by San Francisco the pick before, and I think a young GM panicked and overreached. Love was a 3rd-round pick projection for many, many teams. This is not like Aaron Rodgers, who was the number 1 overall pick until a week before the draft and then fell into our lap at 24. We traded up to draft a guy who was considered a 3rd-round pick by half of the league. And so from that point of view, yeah, Rodgers got mad. He got a chip on his shoulder. And good for you for the New York Jets, by the way, if this trade ends up happening anytime soon, because nothing is better than Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder.
Oh, yeah, I agree. We're going to get a different version of Aaron Rodgers. I feel like, and I would want him for 2 or 3 years, even regardless of all the stuff that's happened with Green Bay, LaFleur, GM, owners, and Packer Nation, and all the players. I think we have a good coach. I think we got good coaches and a good team that whatever happens, I think they'll all band together and be a team instead of, all the stuff that we've been hearing about Green Bay with Rodgers. I do know that a lot of, your fan base is split. Like, they're upset that he could be traded and leaving, and then there's a lot of them not just sick and tired of him, the way he thinks, the way he does things. And so you have a talk show with your dad, right?
Correct. Yeah.
What does he think about this too? And are you guys on the same level with the whole?
Yeah, he and
Rodgers
I are
thing?
both for the very few times he and I are on the same page with this one. It happens very rarely, but here's the issue that my dad has, right? He remembers what it was like being a Packers fan in the 70s and 80s, which is probably what it was like being a Jets fan over the last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad teams, and you were just hoping to get a winning season and sneak into the playoffs. From my perspective, I haven't seen that before. It was Super Bowl or bust most of my life, right? Except for one losing season. So, yeah, we're on the same page. And it's like any other fan base. You have smart, intelligent fans who understand the game and understand what it takes to win. And then you have fans that want Aaron Rodgers to leave Green Bay. So from that point of view, you have dumb fans who don't want Aaron Rodgers around. And those are spoiled, rotten football fans who don't understand what it takes to win. And they're going to watch Aaron Rodgers leave for another team, win a Super Bowl, and we're going to win 5 games with Jordan Love.
Man, I mean, couldn't say it better myself. It's like that with the Jets, so I totally get that. Matthias says, look, this is happening, and no first-round pick will be involved. A second round this year, another second next year, and then became a first. That's most likely the deal. I mean, I agree.
That's what we're hearing. That's what everybody's saying is going to happen, but we'll see. Draft night, it's a different ball game. All of a sudden, all the chips are pushed in.
Right.
True.
And we know Joe Douglas loves to make draft night trades. I mean, every year he's been a general manager, there's been draft night trades. 2020, his first draft, Denzel Mims, he trades back in the second round with Denzel Mims on the board. Everyone's like, what are you doing? And then next thing you know, Denzel Mims falls in his lap. And then you have, 2021 trades up to get Elijah Vera Tucker. This past year's draft, he trades up and gets Jermaine Johnson. So Joe Douglas is no stranger to draft night trades. And as a Jets fan, that's kind of what I've been expecting. I really feel like this trade is going to happen. It's going to be on draft night. Aaron Rodgers is going to be the talk of the draft. So I just feel like that's what it's going to be. I mean, that's just the most logical.
Which Aaron Rodgers won't like being the talk of the draft at all, as we all know.
Right.
I'm sure he hates this. Now, I have a question for you guys as Jets fans, because I definitely have strong feelings on this, but it'd be interesting to hear what you guys have to say. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers wears number 12 for Green Bay.
Right.
The greatest quarterback in Jets history, one of the most important players in NFL history, famously wore number 12 for the New York Jets. That number's retired. That number's up on the rafters. Are you guys okay with Aaron Rodgers coming to New York and wearing number 12?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Joe Namath is one of the reasons why I became a Jets fan. I have a lot of respect for him. He's one of my favorite players, and I'm an Alabama fan. So I love the history with that as well. And I know that unretired numbers, can come back into play, especially if it's another team. The Jets have done it maybe once. I don't remember if that's happened with the Jets.
Well, look at the Broncos. 18 still unretired right now.
Exactly, right. So I could see it happening. But I would feel horrible if Rodgers had that. I know in college he was number 8. 8's available, so maybe you could.
They traded Elijah Moore for a reason, right?
Right. So I think that would be a good number for him. But no, I absolutely am gutted. I don't want that.
What do you think, Jude? What do you think?
I'm thinking. Joe Namath said he was cool with letting go of 12. So if Joe Namath's okay with it, I mean, I'm okay with it. But I do feel like, on retiring 12 after it's been retired for all these years, literally no one but Joe Namath has worn it. would be, a little crazy, but then at the same time, though, it's like Aaron Rodgers is coming in. Aaron Rodgers wants to wear 12. I mean, it just depends, though, because if Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to wear 12, Tom Brady said with Chris Godwin, he was like, hey, man, I'm cool with giving up 12. But if he wants to come and wear 8, then, I mean, that's that. But honestly, whatever he wants to wear, I mean, I'm cool with. I mean, if
Alex,
it means
I
we
am
get a Super Bowl,
100% with you on this one. If Aaron Rodgers wears number 12 in New York, I will lose so much respect for that man because I don't want to see another person wearing 12 in Green Bay. You mentioned Alabama. We had Bart Starr, right? Alabama quarterback wore 15. If somebody came in and wore 15 in Green Bay, the town would be burned to the ground. We don't even let people wear number 5 for Paul Horning, and his number's not even retired. And still nobody can wear number 5.
It's crazy because we can't give up 13 because of Maynard. So I could see, Lazard going number 5 because that's where he was in college as well. Right. And Jeffrey Mathias bring up a good point. I think Rodgers has more respect for Namath than to wear 12. And then Simons is the same thing. Does Rodgers have respect for Joe to wear? I think it is. I think Rodgers has always been that type of respectful guy. He loves the history. He loves the game too much to where I don't think he goes that route, in my opinion.
Well, let's be honest. If he wouldn't want anybody to wear 12 in Green Bay,
I agree with that.
Nor should he. No, he's earned that. I know if I was ever a player at that caliber, which I never have been, never will be, but if I was ever at that caliber and somebody asked to wear my number that had been retired, I would say no. I earned that. That's my honor. You don't get to take that away from me. And I think it's the same thing with Joe Namath. Joe Namath is being very nice, but I don't want to see anybody wear 12 in New York.
I agree. Hey, we're on the same page then.
Yeah, y'all bring up a lot of great points, and to be honest, I changed my mind a little bit. That is kind of, I changed my mind a bit. Yeah, that is a little messed up, for having it all the way to 70. I mean, of course, Namath to say he's cool with Rodgers wearing it, but still, nonetheless, it's like it's been retired for all these years, and
you guys in New York still haven't let anybody wear 80, have you? Since Trebet retired, I don't think anybody's worn 80 since him.
No, there's no one I can remember. I can't see it.
And it's out of pure respect. So how can you give up the number of the greatest player in franchise history? I just don't see how you can do that.
Yeah, he can wear 8 and replace Elijah Moore. He was nowhere near Shabret Challet. Oh shoot, I messed up his name completely. Caliber, nowhere near Joe Namath caliber. So yeah, he can for sure wear 8.
That's right.
Because I mean it's open, and as you mentioned, we trade Aaron Rodgers for a reason.
What would be really funny? So at his community college, Aaron Rodgers wore number 10. It would be really funny for him to just make sure he is the best number 10 in the league to wear green, as Jordan Love wears number 10 in Green Bay.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even think about that. That's hilarious.
Wow.
That would be the greatest moment, I think, in football history right there.
Oh my gosh, I'm bringing that up. I'm gonna copy that. I'm just gonna let you know that right now, dude.
You can steal it. Just put a little in very small text. Sports talk with that.
Well, we have a question for you. The chat has a question for you. Jeffrey said about the Elijah Moore trade. He said, "What do you all think of the Elijah Moore trade? I don't like it because he was one of his favorite Jets." We'll let you talk about that first.
Me on this one?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I've had a lot of favorite Packers go away, and as long as it's for the betterment of the team, that's all that matters at the end of the day. Elijah Moore has a lot of potential. I was actually shocked by that trade. So I think you guys would have to answer that more seeing him, because he really, towards the end of last season, when he had some competent quarterback play, really started to show off as a slot receiver and really show a lot of talent. So, I mean, from you guys watching the Jets way more than I do, I mean, what do you think about the trade?
Man, you know what? I think it was because we traded him because he didn't take it back, his trade request. We needed to give away a pick so we can get Aaron Rodgers in here. Now we got 2 second-round picks. I think one of them is going to go to Green Bay eventually. And I think it was just a locker room issue with Elijah. I know he came back stronger with his mentality, but then we're hearing rumors he might have had a second trade request in there somewhere between January and March, but that's only a rumor. but I think it was him on his way out eventually anyway. That would have been a great piece for you guys too. But overall, I see why it happened. I see it sucks because he is a good player,
Yeah.
but I think the vision that we are going in the future with the New York Jets, it was kind of necessary to kind of do that. Jude, what do you think? Losing Jude a little bit. Can't hear you, Jude. It's okay. We always have Wi-Fi issues, so
That's all right.
It happens.
I've lived in that world before myself. I completely understand.
I can't hear nothing, Jude. Nope.
It'll be interesting. So when I heard those first round picks while we were waiting for Jude to come back, I was shocked. I honestly thought at that moment that both of those second round picks were going to Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers. That's what I thought that trade was. And so it surprises me that both those second round picks aren't being offered right now.
I think so too, because I think this could end up being that. I think it can end up being 2 second rounders, either one this year or one next year. But like you said about Devontae Adams, that was a second round pick, and
That's all it was.
And that's it. Like for Devontae Adams, are you kidding me? Like
we got a dumb front office. It's pretty terrible.
I just don't understand it. But overall, I like how Elijah Pitts. That's funny because I think he's the Matthias Simon in the chat. He said something about Elijah Pitts. I'm thinking because I know there's a Reggie White, the minister. Everyone loves Reggie White in here.
92.
But overall, though, when it comes to the Packers and Jets, the way this trade package would look like if it happens before the draft, happens next week or down the line, what do you think about the trade? Do you think it will be successful for you guys as much it will be for us? What do you think?
No, I don't.
No, you don't. Hey, that's fair.
I don't think we're gonna do anything. By the way, I have to get a shout out to whoever put Herb Adderley on the list as well, because 26 would be a retired number in any other stadium besides Green Bay. So kudos to the Herb Adderley comment. He was my grandfather's all-time favorite player. I heard about Herb Adderley several times. But no, I don't think we're going to do anything. I mean, we don't have a third round pick still on the roster. Second round picks, he's been all right. How can it ever work out better for the Packers trading away a Hall of Fame quarterback? I just don't know how that works. And the Favre situation is different, right? Because Favre wanted to leave. Favre screwed over the Packers, right? Yeah. Favre screwed over the Packers as much as he allegedly screwed over the people of Mississippi. So, I mean, you can't really get too upset at that situation. This is a different ball game. This is a guy in Aaron Rodgers who idolizes Bart Starr, who finished his career in Green Bay, wanted to do the same thing, and the Packers just aren't allowing that to happen. Rodgers wearing 0 would be great.
That would be funny. How funny would that be? I know there's a bunch of players now. There's Sam wears 0, Parsons, Ridley. I'm just like, it's such a college numbers to me.
I go with Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders at Colorado, he's not letting his players wear 0. He says, I don't understand why you'd want to be 0 because that means you're nothing. And if that's a good answer for Deion Sanders, that's a good answer for me.
Yeah, I don't like the whole 0 either. I've never liked it at all either. I wasn't even liking it when like the first numbers came in that wide receivers can wear 5 or like all these other players can wear 5 and 2 and 1. I've adapted to more 2 now because I love college football. You're an Ohio State fan. I'm an Alabama fan. Jude's an LSU fan. So I like that aspect because it's college. You know, you can do what you want, like whatever numbers. Right. But you're the NFL. I'm just not like that.
You know, my favorite rule change at the NFL owners meeting this year has to be the fact that kickers can now wear anywhere from 90 to 99. I am very excited to see some 99 kickers out there.
How hilarious would that be?
It's college rules, man. That's what they wear in college.
Right. That would be funny. I like the 00 that Simon said. He's like, someone's going to wear 00 eventually.
Hey, there's a Hall of Fame player, center for the Raiders, that wore 00. So it could happen.
Yeah. 99, Greg Zuerlein can be that, or your kicker. And then there's one where Jeffrey even said that both teams are going to be looking for a quarterback in 3 years. Hey, who knows?
I
Who
hope
knows?
for Jordan Love's sake. I mean, I want Jordan Love to be obviously the next Hall of Fame quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. And the pressure that's being put on that kid, I feel so bad for him. And so I want him to succeed just for his sake, because everything I've seen about him, he seems like a good kid. But I think you're absolutely right. I think we're looking for a quarterback very soon.
I agree with you. What do you think? But my last question, and then we're gonna let you go, brother. What do you have? What for your expectations for the Packers this year? What's your expectations for the Jets this year, and how do you think this all comes about? Your overall feeling.
I mean, if this trade goes through, I think this is going to end up with the Packers cleaning house. I think we're going to be looking for a new GM and looking for a new head coach if this trade ends up going through. The over-under for the Packers, if this trade goes through, is 5.5 wins. My guess is that they're going to be under that. I could see us having a 3-win season. As for the Jets, I don't see – I mean, the AFC's stacked, so you have a lot to go through. But you're going to have an Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder and arguably the best roster in the NFL at that point. I mean, it's Super Bowl or bust for the New York Jets.
I agree. And that's all we want. You will be a legend forever if you win a Super Bowl here. We will probably have a name street after you. We'll probably have a building name after you. We'll give you the keys to the city. We'll give you the keys to the city. We'll do anything.
Hey, I remember what it was like when the Cubs won the World Series in 2016, and I hope you guys get to enjoy that. As long as Aaron Rodgers isn't wearing 12, you will see me with the Jets jersey on, cheering you guys all the way.
Here we go. Simon's like, you want to trade for Zach Wilson? We'll take a bratwurst and a beer.
That's kind of what I was thinking. That I thought we were going to get like some New York pizza for Aaron Rodgers when this is all said and done. So, I mean, I think that sounds like a fair trade.
Kyle, you've been great being on the show, man. We got to do more stuff together. Please tell the good people, where they can follow you and see you.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me on the show. Check us out on YouTube. You can follow us on Sports Talk with Dad. Otherwise, you can also check it out at Sports Talk with Dad on Twitter.
Awesome, man. I'm Italy Jet. I'm all over the place. So let's talk sports and NR Hour, all kinds of Jets and Toronto FC and West Ham content. Me and Jude do a couple shows a week with different stuff. I'm Italy Jet. Jude's up there controlling everything behind the scenes because his mic is messed up. It's totally fine. Jude Jets, Italy Jet, Kyle. You guys have a great day. Go Jets and go Packers.
Go Packers.
I figure this hoe while we ride.